Welcome back, everyone, to Goody and Johnny Mo with the Movies. We are here at episode 13 with a special guest. We got Kevin in the house.
What's going on?
Thanks so much for joining us. We just saw Avengers Endgame last night, and we are finally getting to actually do this review. Before we get started with that, we're going to do our traditional intro. Johnny Mo?
I'm going to start with, I am drinking a Omegang Brewery special Game of Thrones, the King of the North, which is barrel-aged Imperial Stout, and I've never had this before. First sip, live.
What's the verdict?
Are we waiting on the reaction?
Oh, man, it's good.
All right.
Kevin, what do you got?
I got Knob Creek maple whiskey on the rocks in a coffee mug.
There
Nice.
we go.
Yep.
Nothing better than that.
With flowers. This was the first one I saw.
I'm drinking a Blue Point Citrus Plunge IPA. Pretty new for me, and not bad actually. So cheers,
That
guys.
sounds really
Cheers.
good.
Happy episode 13.
Absolutely.
I feel bad I drank mine.
All right.
Quick shout out to friends and family of
All
Goody
right.
and Johnny Mo with the Movies.
Take it away.
Want to give a shout out to my buddy Vinny, who with his help this week, we wound up securing first place in a cornhole tournament, and I just wanted to give some props.
All right. So before we get into Avengers Endgame, guys, just please be aware that this is going to be heavy spoilers. We're not holding back. So if you haven't seen this film, we know it's opening weekend, okay? Do not watch the rest of this because we are going to ruin the whole darn thing for you.
Ridden with spoilers.
Absolutely. See it first, come back and watch this afterwards. So, should we let the guest? This is a special moment for us, episode 13. This is the
Our
first time we've
first
had a
guest.
guest.
Oh, yeah.
Aside from the cameos that were in episode 1, I think.
With the kids, yeah. Aside from that. So,
No pressure or anything.
No pressure,
Jeez.
no pressure. Kevin, I'm going to let you open this up.
Did you bring your script?
I don't. I
we're
speak from here.
Yeah, we're completely unscripted, as always.
Wow. I thought it was a great movie. I thought it was a great movie because I thought each piece that they presented was presented very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning, where the opening with Hawkeye, before the Marvel credits, I thought just the little things like that, those were like peppered throughout the movie. And that the pacing was perfect.
Agreed.
A lot of times, especially nowadays with this influx of superhero movies, I find that pacing is a huge problem. It becomes a huge problem. I don't know if it's because of the influx of superhero movies of the genre, but it's definitely become an issue lately. Endgame does it right. Pacing was great. I thought the changes they made in the characters to reflect, what was going on. I thought everything was very, very well done. There wasn't a lot of there was almost no corny exposition where they had to explain stuff as a throwaway line.
Yeah, I thought most of the stuff kind of worked itself out.
Yeah, it was just organic. You know what I mean?
Which is how it should be.
Yeah, it was. I think it's a mark of really, really good storytelling.
Yep.
This should go without saying, but it did look phenomenal. I have no idea what the budget was for the effects, but it's probably through the roof.
Absolutely, but the fact that this film's going to make $2 billion at least, I don't think they really had an issue with dishing money out for this.
No, and they shouldn't have, right? Because
this is the big finale for now, anyway. As far as the last time that we're going to see all of these characters on screen together.
Yeah. But it's good. It broke.
Absolutely,
it was a nice. I'm not going to say it wrapped up everything, but it was a nice, clean division, a nice, clean break between this phase and the next phase.
I think the way that they ended up with this film, and this, I know we're jumping towards the end now, but the fact that at how they got to the end and seeing where we're left off with the majority of these characters, like you said, it closes this phase, but it also it starts to open the next phase, and you can start to see the next team kind of starting to push forward a little bit, knowing that we're going to have these people picking up the torch, which I think is nice.
Yeah. However, I did expect there to be more retirements from the current, roster. They really only retired 3 characters definitively. 2 died.
Yeah.
2 died, and one, is literally
just, like,
in the age of
one-
retirement.
One
two,
literally
three
storied
retires.
out, right?
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
literally
three of them were
retires.
only three characters were storied out. You could say that maybe Hulk has been damaged enough where he couldn't come back. I don't know.
I don't.
I find that hard to believe.
I find that very hard to believe. However, just to digress about the Hulk a bit, I feel like this version, this MCU Hulk, is not. And I'm speaking as a Hulk fan. It's not the same Hulk that we've seen, like in, let's just say, Hulk versus Onslaught.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like that 90s Hulk, where it took sometimes 2 pages of frames to really like render him in a comic book.
Yeah.
You know, this is not the same Hulk.
when you
No.
the Hulk you're talking about, are you talking about this Hulk in Avengers Endgame or
Comic
the whole?
book.
The,
I'm
no,
just-
no,
I'm-
no, I'm talking about
Oh, the whole MCU.
right, because this Hulk in Avengers Endgame is different
It's
from the
very-
previous.
Yeah, but I think he's.
In the
I think
movies.
for power level, he's still the same.
Yeah, but
You know
now
what I
he's the true like blend of Hulk,
Which
and
was
Banner.
awesome. I've been waiting for that since forever.
Since the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
since Avengers, right? I mean,
Yeah, for them
I've
to
been
figure it out.
I'm waiting for the lab coat glasses wearing Hulk, you know,
Yeah.
to be front and center.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think they needed to do that because in this type of movie, the Hulk smash, I don't think would have worked.
Yeah, no, it's
Like-
we
like-
moved beyond Hulk smash.
Yeah,
right?
like it would have been hard to work. They wouldn't need that sort of like they didn't need the raw
They
strike
didn't need
except for the end.
They need that brainless monster.
Yeah, who's actually in many cases can kind of derail what they're trying to do.
Right.
So they needed someone.
And he
someone
did.
smart, and he was smart, and he contributed to what was going on.
And they show that. It's a good thing you brought that up. They actually show that.
Yeah.
And when they
do the flashback,
when they
right?
do
When
a
they go back
flashback,
in
when they
time,
go
yeah.
back, because he almost fucked everything up.
Yeah.
Just by virtue of being that mindless,
Yeah.
you know, that blunt instrument.
Before we were talking about how like everything flows and like when organic for a 3-hour runtime, this did seem to go somewhat quick.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like 3 hours.
No, it did. I mean, it felt long because there was a lot of story.
Because there was a
right?
lot to tell. But emotionally, this was all over the place, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
you definitely hit. I mean, at the beginning of the story, the
Well, the
whole
first
beginning
20
of the
minutes,
film
right,
is
you're
very
already-
depressing.
Yeah, you're
I mean,
already like
You're getting hit with feeling what these characters feel as far as the loss of everybody, because at that point it pretty much picks up right at the point of the snap, and we're seeing these characters kind of go through all this, especially with the opening with Hawkeye when he loses his family.
right.
And then they all kind of get together and just go and kill Thanos. I thought that was very interesting.
But they don't do it like, okay, hey, we're past this. Let's go kill the bad guy. No, they're all deeply fucked up.
Oh yeah, no,
They're all deeply screwed up.
deeply scarred,
Deeply scarred.
And and finally we get when Captain Marvel's there, Thor's there. They all pretty much have the idea of, hey, let's go get the stones, and let's see if we can fix this.
Right.
And they end up finding where Thanos is,
And he doesn't have the stones.
Yeah.
and then they find out he still has the gauntlet on, but the stones aren't there anymore. And they find out that if you see one of the last trailers, they talk about him using this. He does another snap, or he uses the stones again, but he did it destroying the stones.
Yeah. I think it probably was the case that the gauntlet, I think, was fused to his arm.
Okay,
Like I said, he couldn't
I can
get
see
it
that.
off.
Yeah,
'Cause
he
otherwise,
was. I think he might have been limping.
yeah, I mean,
No,
yeah,
he was. He was
totally
definitely-
screwed
he
him
was
up.
still hurt.
There really would have been no reason to him to keep the gauntlet, on. I literally think he couldn't take it off.
Well, I have a funny question. So at the end of Infinity War, Thor throws what's his
Stormbreaker.
He throws
Bringer.
Stormbreaker at Thanos, hits him in the chest and digs it in. What if in this film, it's when they fight, Thor cuts off Thanos' arm at the gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
Could Thor have just done that in Infinity War and stopped the snap from happening?
Well,
He did cut off his arm when he
But
no
the
longer had
stones,
the
but he
stones.
didn't
Are
have
gone.
the stones.
Stones are gone.
But
So
I
that's like
don't know-
vanilla Thanos getting his arm cut off by Thor with Storm.
Okay.
Yeah, but
is it
see-
Breaker or Bringer?
Stormbreaker.
Stormbreaker.
Getting his arm cut off by Stormbreaker, 100%. Fine.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the way they cut his arm off, though, like it was pinned down, and he, like when they were in battle in Infinity War, it was like it wouldn't have just been like being able to cut his arm off in battle. I don't
think it would have worked.
I don't think you would have had the
worked.
force and the leverage.
Because as soon as I saw that, I'm like, they couldn't have just done that in the first film.
Well, there's a lot of things. Well, I think one of my, I actually have. I like this film, but I also have a lot of criticisms too. But it's really funny when Stephen Strange talks about how, there's 14 billion or 14 million possibilities. There's only one of them where we win, and I always harken back to, you know what, like. If they had just followed Star-Lord's plan to the letter, they would have won.
No, but Star-Lord screwed it up.
I know Star-Lord screwed it up, but like at that point, there was that one plan where Star-Lord had a plan like, okay, you have a good plan, but it sucks. But let's do my plan instead, and they followed it.
They did follow, but it was Star-Lord.
Yeah, I know, but it's like they literally almost, and it's one of those things where it's like you gotta, the story can't end now. You gotta progress, so you gotta have somebody screw it up.
Right, which inevitably happens here.
Mm-hmm.
Big thing here was that Thor ends up just killing Thanos. He just beheads him with Stormbreaker at the end of this fight.
And I can tell you right now, I think that was completely unexpected to me. I wasn't.
I didn't expect that either.
I didn't expect the first 20 minutes of the movie to be perfect.
That was I didn't think we were getting this whole we're going to go kill Thanos, and they actually kill Thanos. In the opening 20 minutes. And
you wind up having to fight like basically a Thanos from the past.
Right. You're fighting a Thanos from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
which I found very interesting.
Yeah.
So eventually, so we have a couple of convenient plot points that occur early on in the film. One of the first ones that's, in my opinion, is the whole opening of the trailer where we see Tony on the ship. He's on the Guardians of the Galaxy ship with Nebula. And basically, power's running out, air's running out. They're basically going to die. And then all of a sudden, Captain Marvel happens to show up. Now, we're assuming at this point that Captain Marvel has already arrived on Earth, as in the post-credit scene from Captain Marvel film, and that they were basically telling her, "Hey, go find Tony." And she
I think we need you to find Tony.
And she ends up finding him.
Right.
I find it very convenient the fact that in the vastness of space, I don't think the Avengers knew where he was. It was just pretty much, he's out there somewhere. Go find him.
Mm-hmm.
And she ends up finding him.
My take on that was, and I remember being in the movie theater, finally sitting there and seeing Tony Stark up there, and I'm like, he's going to die. And I leaned over to Kevin and I said, Captain Marvel is going.
Yeah, you call it.
And I'm like, it's the only way he gets out of this.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew
that makes even remote sense. But I actually let that slide because I felt that I think Captain Marvel has the ability to find someone in the depths of outer space.
The cosmos.
See, I don't think that's a special power. I think that was just ease of convenience.
But she did say later on, like, she's been basically doing like the Avengers work on like 1,000 other planets.
Yeah.
So I mean,
does she know space well? I'm going to let that
to travel to thousands let's just say 1,000 to travel to 1,000 other planets. Right. I think she'd have to like know her way around the cosmos.
Yeah, and I think she can get around pretty fast, and somehow she was able to like. Just find him.
I think I just happened to feel that was a little convenient.
Right now,
but the more
story.
Now, of course. Now, the Captain Marvel in the comic books, one of his main powers is cosmic awareness, which he's just in tune with all this stuff. And I don't know if this Captain Marvel has that, but maybe that's kind of like.
Right. Well, if you want to if you want to pull my arm a little bit, okay, fine. I'll buy into that. Yeah. Now, the other one that we found very, very convenient is the arrival of Ant-Man. So at one point we arrive. Now so basically after they kill off Thanos, we jump 6 years. Sorry. We jump 5 years ahead, and now all of a sudden we go to San Francisco, and we see the Scott Lang's van locked up in some like storage, right? And a rat jumps onto the mechanisms of the van, of the time machine that we see at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, that Ant-Man's stuck in, and of course hits the right combination of buttons that turns it on and spits out Ant-Man back into reality.
Yeah, and
that was purely coincidence.
That to me is totally
for progress of the story.
Yeah.
To progress the
because
story.
because okay, so
yeah.
Stephen Strange again comes out with this thing
He
that
sees one way.
like there's one line where we win, we lose in all the other ones. Every one.
One in
Yeah.
14 billion
Right.
chance.
And in my opinion, he knows it hinges on Stark because he's not willing to let Stark die.
Well, he
at
gives
that
up the
moment.
He knows. He knows
He
everything.
gives
He
up-
knows
he-
everything.
He
He
gives
gives
up
up
the
the
stone
stone.
because Tony was going to die.
Right,
He
Tony
knows
was going to die, and he gives up the stone to
Yeah.
save Tony Stark because he knows that he's going to be.
He knows everything. He
Right.
knew.
He's
He
critical.
knows. He knows he has to keep Tony alive. He knew he was going to be erased from the snap. He knows everything.
Right.
He just knows, right?
But so he knows that this freaking rat is going to bring Ant-Man back after 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's the 1 in 14 billion chance.
I think it's million. I don't think it's billion.
The future of the cosmos is making sure that this
This one
freaking rat stays alive, does whatever he does for his whole life, and gets to that van. Because I'm like, are you kidding me? The statistical probability of that is unbelievable.
Well,
So now you got Iron Man, and so now Ant-Man comes back.
yeah.
And to me, and I think I mentioned this to you the other day, I just found, so to me, the pivotal part of Tony Stark in this equation for getting Thanos is solving time travel.
Which happens so fast.
Right. That's another.
So
That
fast.
is also very convenient.
But all right, but I think that was presented better than the rat. So the rat to me almost felt like lazy writing.
Oh,
Because you've got like this epic.
They know that. Like, listen,
That is
we
lazy
gotta
writing.
we gotta get a way to get. We have to find a way to get Scott Lang.
Let's get this guy.
out of-
Let's get him in
out
here.
of the
Well, yeah,
closet.
that's the thing. It's all about we need this to happen, so we just got to
We gotta
figure
figure
out.
that out.
Yeah.
The story has to go from A to B to C to D to E, and in many scenarios, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And then you got these weak scenarios where it's like, look, this is where the story's got to go. What are we going to do?
Right.
And then somebody just comes out and says, look, let's just
Let's have a rat.
have this scene, and the story, and have it a rat. And you know what? It works.
But the rat thing, like you said, it did work, but I think it was a bit lazy.
No, I'm not saying it works. They're saying it works.
I'm just,
It's
but
retarded.
it did. It did.
Well, I mean,
But it serves its purpose.
It just
Right.
exactly. That's what I meant.
right, it serves its purpose.
But Tony Stark just kind of Forrest Gumping his way into solving like
Time
this
travel.
Right.
impossible equation, right?
Right.
That model.
Yeah,
So
this is what I
before you
did
get into
not
that though,
enjoy.
let's preface that. So basically, what ends up happening is Scott Lang comes back and he figures out that the only way to fix this whole thing is time travel.
Right.
Is to basically get into the quantum realm, but he knows he's not smart enough to figure it out.
Right.
And he's there talking to Black Widow and Captain America saying, guys, this is the only way to do it. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
And he's basically saying, like, we need someone to figure out a way to navigate the quantum realm. And they go and get Tony. Now, Tony at this point is not only with Pepper, but now we find out he has a daughter.
And he's kind of off the grid, right?
He's off
like-
the grid. Yeah. He's basically, looks like he's on like a lake somewhere, just living his life and
happy.
happy.
He's happy.
I think that's a very important
Yeah,
point.
that is a key point. He is happy.
He's happy being with Pepper and his daughter.
Everything has worked out, right? He's still Tony. Right?
He's still Tony. He's let it go. Like whatever, like the past is the past at this point, and he's kind of moved on. And now all of a sudden, Cap, Scott Lang and Black Widow show up at his
roll up.
doorstep
Yep.
and like, hey, we're going to present this Back to the Future scenario to you. And I love that they reference Back to the Future.
Yes.
Love that they threw that in there.
Yep.
Well, they actually at one point mentioned a whole bunch of time travel related films.
Yes.
Yes.
And oddly enough, in my opinion, I find this odd. I actually enjoyed that they mentioned time after time because that's what I'm thinking.
That was a deep cut.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, that
There
But,
was
was
at least
good.
but-
a dozen films at the end.
Don
the
Cheadle,
movie-
he ripped off. I want to say at least 10.
That was great.
It was good.
Oddly enough, I think the film that they didn't mention was, in my opinion, the best film on time travel, which is 12 Monkeys. 12 Monkeys makes perfect sense.
I think it wouldn't have killed them to throw in because 12 Monkeys is fairly
Well, that's fair
recent.
game.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think my biggest problem with this movie is I think I had a problem accepting the whole logic of the solution. the whole time travel premise. At every step of the way, it just confounded me in terms of its logic.
Well, I bought it because Tony came up with it.
Well, I didn't buy
But
Scott Lang's interpretation of
But
anything.
because Tony comes up with it, well, first off, Tony turns them down. So they present it to Tony, and
Well,
Tony's
no,
like,
go back a minute. Go back a minute. All Scott Lang knows is that 5 years on Earth took 5 hours.
Boy,
5 hours
that's
for-
not. But that's not what he says. He's like time
for-
works
time
differently.
works different there.
So that's what kind of put him on the.
Well,
what if we could kind of.
Right, and that's like there's
Right.
that's not the same
And
as
all of a sudden
like
there's-
I
he's
understand the
reaching
physics
these-
and I just
But
I
that's
know
all
that
he
you-
had. That's
He's
all he
reaching-
had.
He's reaching
That's
the
all he had.
conclusions that for him it felt like it was 5 hours.
Right.
Or meanwhile, it was 5 years. that he
Right,
was
no,
there.
and exactly. So like he's in a place where time goes slower than the outside world.
Well,
And I'm okay with that. But to me, that's not like, well, if I can just, finagle it a little bit, I can travel in time to anywhere I want.
But
Well,
his point was
it's
that
like-
he didn't know.
Yeah.
But his point was he didn't know how it all worked out. He
Right.
just said time works differently. So I think that's why they ended up going seeking out Tony. I think Scott knew he wasn't smart enough to figure the whole thing out.
Right.
Like he was basically putting a crazy idea out there, and said we need someone smart enough to see if they can do it. And of course that's Tony.
I'm gonna have to listen to
I mean, we're gonna see it again.
Because to me, it made no sense to even consider that that's a possibility. It's like
Right.
time is slower there. That doesn't mean you can go backwards. It just means you can get somewhere slower.
I mean, one of the reasons I really enjoy watching movies like this and what they've done to the MCU is that there are certain things where I could take what I'm given, like what happened, like what Scott Lang brings back from the quantum realm, like all like this, the hodgepodge of information that he just kind of vomits out in front of him, right? And I could suspend as much disbelief as I need to suspend,
Right.
but then I could also kind of fill in the blanks with my own imagination. You know what I mean? And because I appreciate what Marvel has done world building wise, I appreciate what they've done with the source material. I appreciate how they melded the two together. You know, they didn't really take off on their own and be like, we're gonna do it better and do it different. No, they've kind of stuck to stuff.
I think you've done a little bit too because you have that comic knowledge and background, so you'll be able, I think, to do that better than some. Like regular viewer.
Well, this is the thing that bothers me is because I felt that in the comics, they actually explained things better.
I mean, you got
You
it's
also have
different
time.
medium. It's different
Yeah,
medium.
you also have time, I think, to do that.
I mean, I'm going to use Game of Thrones for an example. In Game of Thrones, I don't think this is a spoiler. Daenerys in the books has a ton of internal monologue, a ton, and it completely paints a different picture of her as a character and her as a person than it does in the show. Because there's no internal monologue in the show. That would be
right.
bonkers.
You
You
can't.
can't do that. So, like the medium of the comic, of the story on the page, and the time that it take to do it.
Well,
I mean, it's just you're afforded a different opportunity to present.
Yeah,
to
but
tell
like
your
you're
story.
talking the difference between a novel and a comic book. Like a comic book, I don't want to say comic books are for kids, but it's like when you're in a comic book, you can get away with a lot of nonsense.
Yeah.
But yet Marvel was able to explain things a lot better in their comic books than I think most other comics did.
I mean, maybe this was kind of a far out concept.
Yeah.
Quantum
Well,
realm.
so it's like exactly. You take these pieces and you run with them.
Yeah.
But at some point, there's got to be a little bit of a better glue to allow you to say, okay, I'm going to take it and go here.
But
and here.
I made that glue. To check it out. So you've got Scott Lang, who's he's not technically a scientist, right? He's not a physicist. He's not Hank Pym on any level, right? But he has a unique perspective on the science that allows him to shrink and enlarge, right? He understands how it works to the point where he could be like, I know how to do this.
Right.
I know how to make it work.
He's
good there, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't know necessarily all the cogs and everything, but he knows he understands it. So he took that frame of reference. He took what he knew and he applied it to, hey, maybe it works the same with time. Since time is smaller and larger, it's maybe we could adjust how
just
time is measured, and then maybe we could just hop on the train and get off wherever we want. I mean, it's a big stretch.
It is,
And they only try to explain it in literally 17 seconds of dialogue on the screen. But
and to me, in a 3-hour movie, I think they could have gotten away with. There was time to give a little bit
Yeah,
more.
they could have spent a few minutes on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I agree.
So then
This,
you have,
this is nitpicking in like the
right.
finest
But
sense.
then you have Tony Stark when he finally gets presented all this, and he just basically comes out and says it's impossible.
Can we wait?
It can't be done.
Can we talk about Tony Stark for a minute?
Sure.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right. So
We can talk about anything for a minute.
Tony Stark, the entire time he's been a thing in the MCU, like since Iron Man 1,
Yeah.
he has been this like he's been like this unbeatable ultra genius, right? Not only that, he just like he always has the MacGuffin. He always has the way
He
out.
figures it out.
He not only figures it out, but he figures it out with panache. You know what I mean? Like it's always, even when he was like, and I hated this part of the Avengers, the whole part. I'm sorry, with Avengers 2: Age of Ultron, when he fought a crazed Hulk in the Hulkbuster suit, which they ripped right out of World War Hulk.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, World War Hulk.
Yeah.
And the whole time, it's like a joke to him. You know what I mean? It's just one-liner after one-liner after one-liner.
Yeah.
So the fact that he just like kind of like, it's almost like he takes out his like Rolodex of science and just flips through it. He's like, oh, it's right here, no problem. Doesn't even scuff his pumas.
Time travel.
Time travel, no problem.
I'll be honest with
Like
you.
it's just like it's so easy for MCU Tony Stark to be like, no problem.
But when he talks about it, like in front of them, he mentions like different laws and different theories, because he was saying something. I mean, he said a couple of lines that I'm like, I know I missed, but I know it had to do
Yeah,
with
he was
the science behind it,
right.
and saying why it wouldn't work,
Right.
and like, you know, you're basically you're risking death. It's not possible.
I'll be honest with you. The Tony Stark in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a lot smarter
Yes, he
than the
is.
Tony Stark in the comics.
It's in a whole other level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in the comic books, Tony Stark is a weapons manufacturer. He is an electronics genius.
Yeah.
You know, he creates, really intense weaponry.
But he does make those suits, right? Like
I didn't read all these suits.
I didn't
But,
read
like,
the extreme
It's not about,
storyline,
it's not all about like, astrophysics and particle physics and theoretical stuff and
Right.
time travel and all this.
But it seems that this Tony,
This Tony,
He's like
is
he's
a
almost
lot
like Reed
smarter.
Richards, right? He's like
Yes.
a mega
I think
genius.
Yes.
it's like borderline.
Yeah, that
He's
is
like
actually
Reed
a very
Richards.
good comparison.
Yeah.
Because in the comic books, there is a storyline where Iron Man has to figure out a way to travel through time, and the only way he can do it is by teaming up with Doctor Doom. And between the two of them, they figure it out.
I mean, between like Doom and Richards are two of the smartest people
Right.
in the
Right.
Marvel universe, right?
right?
Like that's,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Reed Richards in the comic books is way ahead of Tony Stark.
Yeah.
In my opinion, in terms of everything.
Right.
But again, Tony Stark is, he's electronics genius. But
Right.
in this case, he's just really, he's like the Reed Richards.
It's like many times over. Like
So now that, Stark is gone and Fantastic Four is coming, we get the same type of character.
I was going to say, we know at some point Reed's
yeah,
coming.
yeah. So my point with
Can
Stark
they
was
finally
is that
do a good Fantastic Four movie? Like,
we were just talking about
is
that.
a
Oh my
possibility?
God.
We're going to find out.
Like, how are you dropping them? I mean,
Well-
I've never been a huge Fantastic Four fan, save for Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom is like
The best.
Is the man.
And they screw up the FF.
every time.
They screw up Doctor Doom, and now it's a matter of let's get
him in
back.
here.
Let's
get him in here.
Let's get it back and give us a chance to do it.
Give them a few
And
more
do
years,
it
and
right.
I feel like we're going to.
Because again, they're not going to be in their own movie isolated. They're
No.
going to be in the Marvel
part of this
Cinematic
now.
Universe.
I hope so because
and they got to
they've,
do it right.
they've burned out what 3 times now. So
If
it's
you
one
count
and
the-
two.
If you count the 80s,
I'm not counting 80s.
Well, if you no,
That's like because then you got to
That's-
count.
yeah.
You got to count the Captain America.
well, they had the
movie
first
from-
film in 04, and the second film was 06, and that burned out.
That was
and then the
Silver
one
Surfer,
they did
right.
2000, what was it?
With
14 or 15, they had that
with
the reboot.
Robert B. Jordan, right?
yeah, that
Whatever
that
his
was
name.
absolutely
I always
Michael
screw
Michael
Michael B.
B.
Jordan. I
Jordan.
always screw up his name.
absolutely horrible.
Yeah, but all right. So back on.
Okay, so back to
that's
Stark.
nice.
So what Stark says is that it's absolutely impossible. Get out of here.
Yeah,
And then
like angrily.
he
like
has a
you're-
change
you're
of heart.
a clown.
Let me see if I can figure this out.
Within
and,
one night.
And then all of a
Like on a
sudden,
whim.
it goes from 1 in a billion to 99.987% certainty.
Like,
And
who's
it's
like,
because
on a whim?
I solve time travel.
Like on a whim. Like, I'm just gonna run this theoretical model on my mega AI, right?
Yeah,
like,
that he's got. Well, I mean, you knew he's going to have something like that.
yeah, no, but that,
So-
I mean, that's just
You know,
that's,
that you know he's going to have.
So
but the
now,
fact-
so
but the fact
now
that-
we know that Stephen Strange, is, he just, the rat in Stephen Strange world is going to bring Ant-Man back good. To me, Stephen Strange keeping Stark alive it should only be because they need Stark
For time
to
travel.
solve time travel. Because if you don't have this time travel scenario, you have no way of winning the fight because you're just going on with life. But so having also Tony Stark at the end wield the Infinity Stones, it's like that would be like your go-to scenario. Oh yeah, Stark beats Thanos in the final battle. But the only reason you have a final battle is because Stark and only Stark solves time travel.
I kind of felt like the Stark with the Infinity Stones is kind of just like more putting this guy up.
Well,
on a pedestal,
it's only because
you know?
like he's
Yeah,
Tony
he's a
Stark.
hero. Yeah, he's the hero of the
started it
MCU.
all, He was going out. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, he was
dying. He was
I
going to
think
die.
I think it was too
Right,
much
right.
because, in
So
all
they did
honesty,
it for
I
that.
don't think Stark would have been able to wield the Infinity Stones.
Even with that
Even
suit,
with the suit.
that suit's pretty.
I mean,
pretty awesome.
that suit is I mean, that was it. The nano suit.
That's the
right?
nano suit. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just
I
was
don't
that
know.
was that from his Extremis
That's
stuff,
it.
or is that
Well, I
just
think
like
it's past that. I think
it's
it's like
bad.
the newer stuff.
that's just like I'm Tony Stark. I happen to come up with.
I mean,
this
they
and
were
this.
talking about how
comes
like
from
the only reason Star-Lord was able to handle one of the stones is because he's the son of Ego.
Well, he's part ego.
He's part Ego.
He's part Kurt Russell. Let's just get that out of the way. Right?
No, that's true,
There you go.
too.
Part Kurt Russell.
So having having Tony Stark able to handle all 6 stones.
Personally,
And
I found that to
Pers-
be a stretch.
personally for
I think
me,
it should have blew him apart.
personally for me, I think it should have been Captain Marvel that had
Or
the
Thor.
stones.
Or
Thor would have worked.
well,
out really
I
well.
think they wrote out Thor being able to do a massive.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
talk
fat
about.
Thor.
Let's bring Thor into this a little
Oh, I
bit.
see.
So
I wanted to focus on Captain Marvel.
I want to get to her in a second.
Because I got
So
Thor.
Thor,
I think
got
Thor
an
might.
issue too.
I think Thor might be the best part of this movie.
Thor coming in.
I love Thor.
Yeah.
Complete.
Yeah.
So now we got Asgard that's on Earth, New Asgard, and it's basically almost like it looks like a fishing town.
Okay, so this.
I mean, but that's
Okay.
great because that's like it kind of looked like something out of like Iceland or Norway
Yes.
or Greenland, right?
The-
Like, it's-
The problem,
Which is
the
fun.
problem with this movie is that when you talk about a problem, it brings up another problem. When you
That's
talk
true.
about that
yeah,
problem, it
but,
brings up another
but
problem.
the problems are so.
Because,
I'm not going to say inconsequential, but the problems are small.
well, okay, so
You know what I'm saying? Like,
New
they don't-
Asgard.
Yeah.
Who the hell are all these Asgardians?
These are the ones that
They're the ones that are
survived.
left. All right,
These-
so you
they,
got.
they survived.
My impression was that all those Asgardians were killed by Thanos
on the ship.
on that ship. He wasn't doing like I'm only going to kill half of them. He's
No, those
He
are
was
the, those, are
killing
the,
all of
those
them.
are the ones that survived the destruction of the ship. If
Yeah.
Thor survived space, some of those Asgardians could as
Well, there was a
could
lot.
as well.
Yeah, there was a
So-
lot, but now there wasn't so many, and then that number got reduced further by the snap. You know,
yeah, even more so.
even
I mean,
more
you
so.
look
half,
at-
half of the ones floating
You're
around in
talking-
space turned into dust.
You're talking a small town at this point in time, but it was just funny the first.
Say it was
shot we
200.
see.
Say 200 people, right? Like
Right, max.
max.
But I would
That's
like
for-
to know how they got from floating around in space.
It's 5 years, man. Like it's 5 years.
Right.
Like they had Valkyrie. Like
Yeah.
they
All right.
found their way. You know what I mean?
All right.
Like it's.
Well, it's one of those things where you just got to buy it.
I'll
gotta
buy
buy
it.
it. You
No,
gotta buy it.
I'll
You
buy
buy
it. But I just felt that when they presented that scene in Avengers Infinity War, that they were all dead.
It looked that way.
I understand. I know what you're saying. It did look that way.
But I thought it was nice that they brought back some people from Thor Ragnarok that we got in there.
Oh man.
What's his
Korg.
name? Korg, right? And who was the other little guy?
I think it was Brood.
Brood.
Right.
So-
a poor representation of Brood, but it was still fine.
So we got those guys in there, and then we see Chris Hemsworth. Now Chris Hemsworth always has a shirtless shot where he looks ripped and he looks fantastic.
Yeah. I mean.
And he had in the beginning of this film he's got the short haircut from Thor Ragnarok. Now it's 5 years later. He's got the long beard and hair again.
Still
that he's
damaged.
grown out, and
Still
he's
damaged.
just damaged that he feels that he screwed up and didn't kill Thor. It didn't kill Thanos
Yeah.
when he was supposed to.
Shoulder on that bird.
And he has been just drinking his pain away
Yep.
and looks like a fat slob.
It's hilarious.
Right.
It's
And
fantastic.
and I don't know if anybody knows the answer to this, but him being fat, did he gain the weight? Is it a fat suit or is it all CG?
It's got to be a fat.
I think it's a
suit,
fat
dude.
suit.
It's a fat
There's no
suit.
way Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth is like the paragon of health and fitness.
Okay, so-
Yeah,
so-
this is
There's
the
no
last
way.
time I checked.
So
I'm
a fat suit.
that
I'm gonna say
has
that.
to be a fat
I'm
suit.
gonna say
I did not look it
fat
up,
suit.
but that's got to be a fat suit.
I'm gonna
Okay,
say
I was
fat
just
suit.
curious.
Yeah.
But so
It's
we,
great. It's
So we see him and he just looks like this blob. And
he's a jolly fat slob.
But you see, but like, you know, Rocket's there. Who went with him? It was Rocket, and who else went to go pick him up?
I forgot.
Who was the Avenger that was there to get him?
It wasn't.
I
It
don't know.
wasn't Widow. It wasn't.
Oh,
Widow.
it was Hulk. It was Hulk and Rocket.
Oh, okay.
Right, and I mean that Rocket's making comments like you look a little big, like it was just that the three of them together I thought was great because of Hulk's relationship with Thor from Ragnarok, and then of course Thor with Rocket from Infinity War. It was a great scene between the three of those characters.
I'm going to be
I
honest
agree.
with you. I think one of my favorite lines in the whole movie is when the Asgardians are chasing Rocket and they go and get the rabbit.
Get the rabbit. So he went for it. Yeah, I just love how he
Get
just
the
went for it. So we're gonna get to that too. I
Yeah,
think.
and that actually that to me, I think that was my favorite line.
So
one
now
of
you
my
wanna-
favorite lines in the movie.
Okay, so that was the thing about Thor. So you wanted to talk about Captain Marvel.
Okay,
Yeah.
so first off,
You go first because I got something to say
Okay.
about this. After
Captain
this.
Marvel. First off, didn't like the new hairdo at all. Thought it was horrible. That's just me.
The 6 year later hairdo. I mean, I keep saying six.
5 year. Yeah, and I got a problem with the 5 year thing too. That's another problem. So yeah, I did not like the hairdo at all. I thought it looked I thought it horrible look on her. Anyhow, going into Avengers Infinity War, riding off the heels of Captain Marvel. Okay, so Avengers Infinity War, you know,
We see the beeper.
putting the beeper out.
Yeah.
Nick Fury's calling in the big gun Captain
Yeah.
Marvel. Follow that up with a Captain Marvel movie where she can kick ass and she's really tough. And then you get like the preview, the Mary Poppins at the end of Captain Marvel, where it's like, you know, she's like showing up with the Avengers now. You know, she's
Yeah,
like
she shows up at the end, right?
Yeah.
Like after credits.
previews for Avengers Infinity War. You know,
ton of Captain Marvel.
you know, Captain Marvel's in there, and you know, Thor's, you know, pulling his hammer past her. He's like, "Oh, I like this one." It's like, you know, it's setting the stage for like
She's a big
Captain
part of this
Marvel
movie.
is going to be like a big part of this movie,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
she's the big gun. And basically, she shows up in the beginning to get Thanos, who at that point really isn't even a threat anymore.
No, he did what he
Yeah,
needed to do.
he's,
And then
He's
she
done.
goes off after that and goes off, and she doesn't really show up until the very
Final
end.
fight.
Now, granted,
She did say it.
She
She
takes
said it.
out that big ship, but it's like,
She did say it though. She's like, "I got a lot of work to do. You're probably not going to see me for a while." It was kind of too on the nose, but
But to me, it's like it was a. I'm sorry, that was a lazy way of writing her out. Like you presented as if this girl was going to be a huge part of this film,
right,
and
she's
that
not.
was a huge wool that was pulled over everybody's eyes because we were all expecting every single
I was
person
expecting
walking into
her
this
to be
film
an integral part.
that she was going to
of
be
the
a
whole
big part of this
Endgame.
film, and we didn't get that.
Yeah.
She's there for the beginning, takes him out, and then she's gone, and then we don't see her until the
She's
final
not involved
fight.
in any of the
Now,
time travel
granted,
stuff.
when she comes
No.
into the final fight, she kicks ass. She destroys Thanos' ship. She kicks the shit out of Thanos.
But I mean, even her battle with Thanos was pretty short.
Compared to, I mean, I think Captain America's fight with Thanos is longer
Yeah.
than Captain Marvel's fight.
and better.
And
That was-
better.
that was
Yeah,
great.
yeah, and
That was
better.
that was badass.
That was
So
excellent.
finally, Captain America wielding.
Wielding
Oh,
the Joel
with
A
Joel-
Mjolnir.
moment that we've been waiting for
Yeah.
since when? Since Avengers, right? First
Yeah.
Avengers?
Yeah.
Probably
Very
small
happy
since
about that.
Age of Ultron.
Very
When he
happy
goes to
about
pick
that.
it up.
That was Age of Ultron.
Age of
Okay,
Ultron. He goes to pick
Because
it up.
in the Marvel comics, Captain America
Yeah.
can wield Thor's
Right.
hammer.
Yep.
And it doesn't happen that often, but he's been one of
And
the
did
people
everyone?
that can.
Did you guys pick up when Thanos had the hammer for a hot second?
No.
Oh yeah. I believe he had the hammer for a hot second.
Now, so
Which has
What,
more
did he-
questions.
wait,
Did
no,
he-
no,
did
no,
he-
no,
did
no,
he hit-
no,
Did he hit it
no.
away from him?
No.
It happened
I
so
I,
fast.
think he had. I think he had Stormbreaker.
Did I still have questions about it. I still have questions. Even if it's Stormbreaker, I still
I
have
must have
questions.
missed that.
Because the whole thing with
forget it.
Mjolnir, how do you want to call it?
Mjolnir.
Mjolnir.
Come on here.
Like, there is a certain spell on that where you have to be worthy to wield it. I don't think that applies to
That was
Stormbreaker.
my next question.
I think anybody can pick up Stormbreaker and wield it.
It seems like a design flaw. Someone needs to
Design
slap a
flaw.
spell on that bad boy right away.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Like, you know, how that works with Mjolnir, nobody really knows. But
Gotta
that is
ask-
always the
gotta
thing. You got to
ask-
be worthy.
You gotta ask Tyrion Lannister.
Yeah, I mean,
He's the one who made it.
That's right.
well, unless the Asgardians put their spells on it after the fact.
Oh, it was post production.
I think so.
That
I
might
think
be.
so.
So
And now there's no Asgardians left, right? There's only,
No, they're all in New Asgard.
well, but I don't. But where are the gods?
other the
Right,
gods,
the gods are gone.
dead.
Right, Sif, the Warriors 3, those guys are all
The
dead.
Warriors 3
Heimdall's
were
dead.
dead by.
Baldur's
Okay,
dead.
so
Everyone's
so
dead.
so
Everyone's
I-
dead except Thor.
Sif is still alive.
Where the hell is Sif?
I don't know.
So
She was
oddly
missing.
enough, all Asgardians are stronger than humans.
Okay.
Correct.
They all are. The race is just denser or whatever it is, you know. But you just have greatness within there that they're all gods. They are a race. The Asgardians are a race of gods, but within that race, you have the people
a
that
hierarchy.
excel, the heroes, and the military.
Right.
These are just the ones that a lot of the ones that survive are a bunch of just the farmers.
Right.
But they could break a human being in half.
Right.
You know,
I didn't-
yeah.
you know what? I never really thought about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I have to say, I thought the job of the Russo brothers getting not just all of our heroes in there, but when they finally get when Hulk gets the so basically they have to travel in time, right? So we should probably go through that.
Right.
So they travel in time to
And that's about all you can say.
to
They figure out
They figure out a way.
They figure out a way to travel in
travel
time.
in time to
and
get
do
all the
so.
stones. But the coolest part about this is all the different points when they travel back to. We've almost seen
Yeah.
Yeah.
these scenes before,
They use footage from.
and they're
from
using
movies.
footage
And-
from the previous films as well as new footage with the actors.
It's a
doing
very-
different camera angles.
It's a very good plot device because it allows for all that nostalgia. That
Yeah,
walk
I think
down
they
memory
did. I think they
lane,
did a really, really good job with it.
and even bringing in like newer insight. With Tony Stark and his dad. Like
Yeah.
it's not just
Yes.
like the scenes from the other movies because that would have been a little repetitive after a while.
Right.
They brought in like things that you never would have
And
seen.
they
anywhere else.
de-age people, and it looks fantastic.
I mean, the way that there's a point
I thought
where
Michael Douglas looked a little weird.
I think it looked great.
I thought it looked great.
Michael Douglas? Yeah.
There's a point where Cap. Well, of course things get screwed up, right? Oh, by the way, when they go back in time to the invasion of New York, Loki gets a hold of
The Tesseract.
the Tesseract and disappears,
and just screws
and
off.
we don't see nothing. So I
Yeah.
got a feeling this is where the whole Disney
Right.
Plus show is going to come into play, which is why he might still be alive.
I mean, it's also you could also say the same thing like when Thor went back to I think it was the time when the Dark Elves
Yeah.
were going to ransack Asgard, and before he comes back to his proper timeline, he retrieves Mjolnir.
Yes.
So like that Thor
Right.
is
Doesn't have-
screwed. He doesn't have
Doesn't
the
have-
hammer.
Okay,
Right? Like,
But the whole job of Captain America at the end of that was to return everything to its proper timelines.
oh,
No,
that would explain
no,
why he doesn't
just-
have his hammer.
Just the stones.
But
No,
maybe
but he
he
had
went
to
above and
return
beyond
the
because he
hammer,
left
too.
with the hammer.
Okay.
He
And
brought
when he
the hammer
shows
with
up at the end of the movie as a geriatric Captain America,
Right.
all he's got the shield.
he just has the shield. He
Okay.
definitely would have
He
brought the
had
hammer
to
with him.
return the
Yeah.
hammer back.
Okay. So the problem.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
The problem I have with
That
the
actually,
whole
that
time
actually
travel
makes me
thing-
feel pretty good.
Yeah, no, I
the
feel like
way
he
they
has-
explain what they're trying to accomplish in the time travel thing is to get the stones, but not create any alternate timelines, not change the past at all.
This was a
and
huge plot point.
just-
to not change. This was mentioned multiple times.
Multiple times.
Yeah,
Not changing
with
the timeline.
intensity.
We are not going to
Don't.
change
Yeah.
the past at all.
Yeah.
We got to keep it, and we're trying to get the stones to change our present, and then we're going to put the stones back.
Well-
so two problems. One, I don't know how you put the stones back, because like
Literally come back 8 seconds afterwards and be like, "Hey, thanks, it worked."
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean,
like are they interacting with their other past selves?
no,
Like,
I think that it's
No,
just-
like so like there's one scene in the movie where Hulk goes and he meets what the hell is her
Ancient
name?
one, right?
The ancient one, right?
Mhm.
Tilda Swinton, because this is before the
Before
Doctor Strange movie.
Yes.
And so she knows all this because she's the ancient one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's the ancient one. So they had this conversation. It was like that we need the stone back, or else everything fails.
Yes.
So I mean,
But
he
as
has
soon
the
as
conversation
mentions-
with her.
And as soon as Bruce has a conversation with her about, Steven said this is the one way we fix all this.
Yeah.
And she realizes that Steven said this, and as soon as she says that, she gives
It
up.
clicks.
She
Yeah, it
gives
clicks,
up the time stone.
Yeah.
Because before that, it was.
So I can't help you.
But once he explained that and said that it was Steven that said this is the one way that we win,
Right.
then all of a sudden she rethinks everything. It's almost like she's like seeing it in her own head, the hesitation, because there's definitely a moment in the dialogue where she stops and hesitates, and then she continues, and it's
Right.
like, well, no, he said this.
She's got like that Tony Stark level of
oh yeah,
superior
Oh, yeah,
omniscience,
yeah,
but more so.
but high, oh,
Like
Yeah.
in the MCU, there's Tony
I
Stark.
actually like her character.
There's Tony Stark, right, and then there's the Ancient One, who's only
Oh,
slightly above
yeah.
Tony Stark, but it's enough.
Yeah, no,
But
she's
it-
good.
No, she's not.
but the
It's
level,
great.
Okay, so
I have to say,
she
the level,
really
of,
is
the
good,
level of
really.
cameos in this film
Oh, it's great.
was unbelievable.
Wait. We're not done with the soul gems yet. How do you get the soul gem back at the bottom of that cliff?
You throw it off you just drop it off the cliff.
And the Red Skull guy is just going to be like,
Sure.
"Oh, you're here." Just
Well, yeah,
whatever,
give it back
whatever,
to me,
whatever
just
is
drop it
going
off.
on that planet,
Yeah.
whatever force is the gatekeeper of the Soul Stone that
Yeah.
I guess is Red Skull's boss,
right.
is like, oh, thanks. Oh no, I'll take care
Okay,
of this.
so-
Like,
okay.
I just
think
worked
you're
stuff
dropping
out.
it off.
Okay, so
It's like,
now-
okay,
Yeah.
thanks for this.
Let's
Yeah,
just
thanks.
assume that they get all the stones back.
Give it.
Everything that they've done in this movie has completely changed the past. You have people in the
Well,
past
Eh,
coming to
But
the
it-
present and
but it
getting
hasn't-
killed.
But it hasn't, because what it's done is that it's established a new timeline from
Yeah.
that point.
we can't.
Well, that's what they did. That's what my
They
point is.
established a
They
new
established
timeline.
new timelines.
But they had to keep it. They wanted to keep it to a minimum. So six new timelines
Yeah.
is
I
worth the price.
I
of
thought their
entry.
point was to not change it.
Well, they weren't going to change anything because all they were doing was they were assembling a tool they needed to
but it
affect.
didn't work that way.
They were bringing a tool into the prime timeline to affect something that already happened.
Right.
Right. And then they was going to, because they weren't affecting anything in this timeline.
Right.
They were most likely going to make another timeline in those other six.
Without a doubt.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
all of that-
I'm sorry. No, because there were
That-
three
it shows
stones in
what
New
it
York,
says.
and then there was like
Because
so
that
four.
The other
Thanos,
three are
that
Yeah,
Thanos
so
is
four.
dead before he even gets to 6 Infinity Stones. They killed that Thanos.
Fine. Fuck him. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying it's just like I think they wrecked havoc in the timelines.
I don't know.
I think
I
they
don't
were-
think they did.
But you have to remember too, like it's in that particular moment, which is why it was important that Bruce says, we will come back to this moment and give it back to you. Because they're not like going, okay, yeah, a year later, here you go. We held on to it for a long time. No, they're going back to that particular moment where they took it and they're going to put it right back in. Because they know
You're right.
that would alter that timeline even further.
Okay.
That
So
would
I think
screw up
it's a
that
double
timeline.
win because that Thanos. So another point in the movie, Thanos gets wise to what's happening because of Nebula's link with like the other Nebula.
Yeah.
Like, there's a
They
quantum
kill her
entanglement.
too.
So he gets all Thanosy and says, I'm going to take care of this right now, and he ends up traveling forward into time to what?
To the
Tree
present.
Wall
Oh.
Stone. To the present.
Oh,
to the
okay.
Tree Wall
Okay.
Stone.
Where they have this
Okay.
Where all the stones
How
are.
were they able to travel through time? The whole Thanos and his whole army.
Because Nebula had the Nebula from 2014
Stole Pym particles.
stole the Pym particle and the Nebula device from current time, and they were
She had
able
both,
to.
And you think they had enough Pym particles to move an entire army?
Yes,
In
and the reason I
starships.
say that is because they purposely left how Pym particles
No.
work vague.
They moved one starship, his.
Yeah.
And the whole army.
They moved it, and everybody was on that.
It was
ship.
just one
It was
thing.
just one. It was
one
his-
jump. It was one jump.
It was
It was-
his ship.
Okay, one
I
jump.
think it just works on jumps. It's not you can move a
Yeah.
planet. you
Because
can move-
they
it's
were like,
copper.
we have a limited number of these vials. And,
They need to do
we
different
got-
jumps to different
Okay.
locations.
Right.
I mean, again, like I'm
And
just
yeah,
trying
okay.
to.
I mean, yeah, the fact that they did that, moved a giant ship, but yeah, they had the one jump. I did think it was genius though, and of course it was Tony Stark that thought of it.
Yeah.
So when they screwed up and lost the Tesseract, because there's got to be drama in getting the stones, Tony figures out, I know where we can get it, but it's in the past again. So it's him and Cap. They got to go back to 1970
But luckily-
to the base where Cap goes in Winter Soldier, and that's where the Tesseract is being
But
stored.
there's also other Pym particles there.
And there's other,
'Cause I
and
believe-
knowing,
yeah.
but Tony knew
Right.
that
Yeah,
Hank
yeah.
Pym
Right.
was there.
Right.
So I think that was genius
Yeah.
that they were able to get
Because
the
basically
Pym
they
particles
used
there.
the one that they needed to get back
Correct,
to jump.
to get there.
But that was also like a reasonable application of
Yes.
a
Yeah,
smart
no, it was.
person.
That
Not
was-
like I'm gonna on
Yeah.
a whim figure out
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna go
happen
back
to
to this
figure
date.
happen to figure out an impossible time travel equation.
Now, to me, like
Yeah.
that wasn't just a convenient plot point. That was
No,
one
that was a good.
well
I think that
thought
was
out.
that was good.
Yeah,
it
no,
made sense.
I enjoyed
it. Was
that.
good.
I
I,
thought
think
that
it
was
I
smart.
thought it was well done.
Now we getting to the final fight when that ship arrives, and I mean at that point in time, Hulk has basically made his snap and brought everybody back.
Right.
And it's done subtly. It's done with Hawkeye's cell phone. His wife is calling him at this point. And he goes to pick up the phone. And as soon as he does, Thanos' ship rains hell on the
yeah.
Avengers.
Okay.
base.
But like it happens, and it doesn't have like a cheesy montage of where have I been the last 5 years? No, it's like it's super subtle, and then that ship.
And
appears.
then the ship.
I think somebody
and
looks out a
rains
window and sees like a missile.
It's Ant-Man.
Like
Scott
yeah,
Lang.
it's-
Now here's one of the biggest problems.
This
So
is
when
what I had a
when
problem
the
with.
Scott Lang's looking out the window, and all of a sudden you see the giant, the first missile comes
barrage,
and hits.
right.
There's a
And
rain of
as
missiles.
as that missile hits, it like Scott Lang is at ground zero
Yeah,
for where that thing hits.
Is that where you're going
And
with that?
there's
Yeah.
no
yeah,
way.
All right.
Yeah.
okay.
There's
All
no
right.
way he shrinks enough to avoid that hit.
I mean, I think
But
you're underestimating Paul Rudd.
You know?
but I love Paul. So
Okay,
but
and
as soon as he,
Hawkeye, that's the guy.
Yeah.
You know,
but so is Scott.
I know. Again, like I said,
Scott
these
too.
guys,
Yeah.
these guys are just guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, this explosion. This is where I was expecting to say, okay,
People should
now,
die.
now we're gonna lose some more people. We're gonna have some body count.
I could.
Someone's gonna die,
I agree with
and
that.
nobody died.
I could agree with
And
that.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
But
I'm like,
all right, the only explanation I could find for that is it wasn't the first barrage that did the most damage, because they purposely made a show of it was like missiles hitting.
Well, the
then a
structure
couple
just
more
started
here,
to destabilize.
and then all of a
and
sudden
just
there
going
was like
under.
there was like a third or
just
fourth
collapsed.
barrage, and then the whole thing exploded.
Yeah.
explosion.
So maybe just it was thematic effect and they were able to get out,
Okay.
or like just get the hell out of that radius in time.
Now, at this point in time, the only person that has passed away was Scarlett Johansson.
Yep.
She sacrifices herself to get the Soul Stone
Right.
for the rest of the team.
Yep.
So now we're basically Thanos is starting to invade, and Thanos. This is 2014, like full power Thanos. He's got his armor on. He's got his double bladed weapon.
It's like it's not even. I wouldn't even say full powered. I would say like he's at the start of the mission. Like he's not,
this is him before
he's not
he
like
gets the
battle
Infinity
weary.
Stones.
He hasn't lost anything yet.
No.
He's always saying, "Well, it cost me everything." No, it hasn't cost him anything
No,
yet. He's
he hasn't
fresh.
reached that yet.
So he's ready to kick
Yeah.
serious butt.
And then
he's all set.
And then we're getting 2014 Gamora before she meets the Guardians.
Yeah.
Oh, she's a
that,
tough
that
egg.
comes
But
in.
she's already on like the edge. right?
She's on edge about what's going on, but at this point, like she's still undecided
Yeah,
until future Nebula starts to talk to her.
See
and
what
basically-
we've become. Right?
And like,
Yeah,
like
that-
do you know what we become
that
in
was
the
pretty
future?
cool. That was pretty cool.
Like we actually become sisters.
That was pretty cool.
So that starts to change her heart a little bit.
We even said when we did the review of Infinity War that all the people that got snapped were coming back, and all the people that didn't get snapped, these were all the people that a lot of them were gonna die because these were the older characters.
But this is how you kept it. The Russos were smart about this because who they do that with? Loki. takes the Tesseract in the past, disappears. So he's no longer dead in the present, in my opinion.
Right. And
He's
he
no
was
longer
actually
dead.
physically killed by Thanos.
He was physically
so they
killed.
had to write him off.
So him taking the Tesseract keeps him alive. We have 2014 Gamora now coming to the present. So her future self was died in Infinity War, but now her
the whole
past
point of
self
these
is
characters
now
dying
here.
off
But
is
she's actually not.
Yeah.
I don't think she's in the Guardians yet. She was.
She's-
There was an end of, there was
No.
an end of the movie scene
where
it was
she's
Guardians,
not a
right?
part of it.
She ain't there,
Nope.
right?
And that'll be, I'm sure, tie in with the third film.
I mean, Hawkeye should have bit the dust in that explosion. Hawkeye's done.
I think he
He's-
should.
he's
I
done.
absolutely think he should have died at some point in the movie,
Absolutely.
and he did
But
not.
I think the whole opening scenes, you knew he wasn't going to, because
I think it would have made it all
Fam-
the better if he died.
Yeah.
He gets his family back,
But then he does.
Right.
But then he goes.
and then he just bites it.
But I mean, listen, him biting it for his family is the traditional storyline.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening? The girl does it. Scarlett Johansson goes in there and she takes.
Well,
one
she
for
had
the
to
team
die too.
because her family is the Avengers. She's not married with children. So
No, all these people have to die because their contracts are up.
well,
You know, Tony
But-
Stark was dying because this is his ninth
Scarlett
film, and
Johansson's not.
Yeah, exactly.
They're doing a Black Widow movie,
Oh, really?
but they're doing a Black Widow film.
Yeah, but I think they're gonna do it in like
That's
the 80s,
probably-
right?
that's
Something
probably
like
that's
that.
gonna
taking
be
it. That's going to take place in the past.
Yeah,
But
probably de-age.
I think you're going to see. But the fact that she did it changes things a little bit.
Mm.
You know, the fact that I kept for the longest time. You're thinking, all right, Hawkeye's going over the edge of this cliff, and he doesn't, and it ends up being Scarlett Johansson, and I thought that was a nice twist that she ends up dying to save him and his family.
Well, it was like it was
I was
like
a
it was
little
like
surprised.
it was like twisting a couple of times.
Yeah.
yeah,
And then
I
you
thought
finally like,
that
all
was
right,
well done.
all right, someone's got to win the coin flip.
So we
Go over.
so we get 2 hours and 15, 2 hours and 20 minutes into this film, and we finally get
our
the
first
fights that we want to see.
Yeah.
So we finally get Thanos versus Iron Man, a fat Thor, and Captain America.
At this point, Thor has Mjolnir,
Mjolnir
and
and
Stormbreaker.
Stormbreaker. He's wielding both,
And
which
he's-
was really
and it was
cool.
very cool, and it was a cool fight, and it was
And with
it
both
was
of
fresh Thanos,
Yeah.
and you had Cap in there mixing it up, right? You've got
Well, the best-
Thanos. You've got gods. Thanos is a god,
Right.
Thor's a god. Tony
Iron Man's got
Stark
his tech.
in the MCU,
Yeah.
he is a god.
He's
So he's a
awesome,
tech.
yeah.
He's a tech god, right?
Yeah.
Then you've got Captain America
Captain America.
with a shield,
So
and now he's got Mjolnir,
and
but
he's got-
he's still a
But
bad.
the funny thing was like he's doing a couple of moves with just the shield at one point, and then he gets knocked away like an ant at some point, and
Yeah,
then
he is, yeah.
and then Thor gets hit and loses both Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, and he's trying to get them back and he can't, and he's got Stormbreaker back, and Thanos is about to push
He got a little
Stormbreaker
press,
into
a little
him.
switcheroo on.
There's a
him,
little
right?
switcheroo, and then all of a sudden, Mjolnir goes into Cap's hand, or Cap picks it up and just bashes.
Dude,
Thanos.
it wasn't even like it was he smashed. He like knocked the teeth out of his
It
mouth.
was.
It was like a
so
glorious
good.
frame.
And then you just see the perfect shot of Cap with his shield and holding Mjolnir.
Well, I tell you, I think in the movie theater, I think that got one of the biggest reactions.
Oh,
as,
yeah.
as it should have.
It absolutely should
You know,
have.
totally. Like, everybody was in Cap's corner.
Well, it also had to happen because they weren't going to drop the ball on that. There was no way. It was promised.
I will honestly
You know?
say, like, I thought that's where I thought Cap was going to have a great fight, but end up getting killed.
So did
Yeah, I thought
And,
it was getting.
and I actually have to
Thought it was
say,
done.
especially there's one point where Thanos slashes Cap's leg. I mean, they're getting real close quarter combat at one point between the two of them. And Cap's, I think, only staying alive because he has Mjolnir.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
and then at one point, Thanos slashes his leg with his double-bladed weapon. And then as soon as he did that, I was like, oh, here it comes. And it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Cap gets tossed away. The shield gets basically destroyed.
Yeah,
He gets shredded by this like vicious double blade he's got.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
and
guy is he's like a tank.
You know what, though? I'll be honest with you. I don't buy that whatever weapon Thanos had was strong enough
To break the
bu-
vibranium?
I
break the
kind of
shield.
do. But it's Thanos though. This
But it's
guy
like
is,
he's just walking around with this weapon. Like this weapon, there's 1,000 people in the universe that have this weapon.
That weapon could have also been made of vibranium. You don't know that.
I know. It just seemed odd. Like I would expect it to have like.
I mean, if there's one thing that could just, you know,
we're not talking about cosmic, manipulation. Like there have been people that have been able to disassemble Captain America's shield because they can control atomic structure.
right.
This he's just got a big weapon.
Yeah.
And
But
Captain
incredible
America's
strength.
weapon technically should be unbreakable
So
on any
Do you
planet.
think it was like a cheap? It was cheap. It was a cheap way to show that it was a tough fight.
I think it just goes back to the vision.
I think at most his shield should have been scuffed and maybe shown a little bit of dented, but it was busted in half.
But I
was
think it goes.
destroyed.
I think it kind of goes back to the Age of Ultron vision, where Iron Man sees everybody down, and Cap's shield is split in half. I think it's a little bit of a vision come true, a little bit in that sense.
How did his shield get split in half?
It was a vision. Don't you remember that? Iron Man has a vision from Scarlet Witch.
A vision.
Right.
Not
He has a
the
vision, not the vision.
Okay, gotcha.
Sorry,
That's
sorry.
where I got lost.
So they had this incredible fight scene, which I think is fantastic, and then all of a sudden, Cap is getting up from, at this point, he got whacked by Thanos. He's getting up off the ground, and all of a sudden he hears a voice in his ear, and it's the Falcon. And at first it took me a second to realize who it was.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
I don't know if did you guys realize right away it was Falcon?
No.
Yeah,
Did you? You did?
The second, it was like, burp, burp, it was like,
Yeah.
and then the second time, I think it said like Steve or
Yes,
Cap or
yeah,
something.
he's calling out to
Like,
him.
oh crap, it's Falcon.
And at first I was like, is that Bucky? And then I hear his voice talking. I was like, oh, it's Falcon. And then all of a sudden you start seeing all the Doctor Strange, the circles start to open up, the portals
That was
start coming.
Really awesome.
And then everybody from
Just
Wakanda
everyone you
starts
can imagine.
coming in.
Everyone you could possibly imagine just shows up.
That was one of the best camera shots. I mean, as much as everybody loves the first Avengers film, the circle around the characters for that one shot when they start playing the Avengers theme, these guys coming out of the portals
That was pretty great.
was really awesome. And it's all, if you notice the background scenes, it's all the scenes from where they disappeared in Infinity War.
I did not notice that.
So-
That's fantastic.
When the Guardians of the Galaxy and Spider-Man are all coming from Titan.
Oh, it's Titan.
And
Yeah.
then-
I did notice it.
and then everyone-
Oh, I did not notice
I
that.
noticed
so you saw
Spider-Man was
Titan in
from
the
Titan.
background.
Yeah,
And then you
yep.
saw everyone
But
from
they
Wakanda.
alluded to that when Spider-Man was talking about when he woke up and Doctor Strange.
Another great
Yeah.
scene, by the way.
Yeah.
Almost got me. Almost made me tear up.
No, here's a definite tearjerker, Kevin. I agree. Go ahead.
It was. Oh boy, it was. I'm not gonna say it was a rough scene because it was a great scene.
Yeah.
Right? It was like a split second in the middle of the battlefield. Spider-Man comes back
Yep.
and he meets Tony
He
Stark.
sees Tony, and
he just
yeah.
he brain dumps all that's happened, and Tony's just kind of overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then they hug.
well, Tony hugs him,
Tony hugs him,
which is completely
and then
opposite.
Peter Parker's like,
Okay.
I think he says, all right, this is nice.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know what the hell's going on.
No,
right? He's been gone for
5 years, and
but
hasn't
10
even-
seconds,
and
right,
didn't
to
realize
him.
it.
Okay, so all the people that came back, did they come back at the same age when they left, or
Yes.
did they come back?
Yeah, it
5
was
years?
no, it
5
was
years
no.
later?
I
it was
think
just-
I
it
think
was-
it's instantaneous.
It was instantaneous.
I
It
think
was
they
like
come back
it was like they
come
literally
back
lost 5 years.
5 seconds
Okay,
from
so
where they were.
one of the problems I had, I don't know if this is, I got the feeling that like 5 years later on Earth, they still haven't like the whole world is still in disarray.
Oh, I would think so.
Yeah,
You know,
but
like I'm like, okay, this poster's still up. No, all the posters of the missing people would be down. It's known now that half the population disappeared.
they did mention a few times, especially. I mean, there's one scene, very very brief scene, where Captain America mentions that he saw a whale in the Hudson
Yeah.
or something like that.
So you just
He's
basically
oh,
like,
less
you know,
people,
let's-
less
let's-
pollution.
yeah,
yeah.
They allude to the fact that maybe Thanos
Was right.
had an idea of
Well,
what he was doing.
Because
you know?
I'll be honest with you, if that happened, like I think the first like 6 months would be pretty chaotic, but like I don't think the whole world would devolve like like into like a Walking Dead apocalypse. Like life would go on, people would things
Thank
would
you, Dr.
things
Malcolm.
would readjust, and things would get back to normal.
Life finds a way.
Like they would just like they would go on. Like,
Yeah.
I almost felt like they're walking along, and Scott Lang is walking along, and he's like, it's almost there was certain parts of it that looked like a desolate wasteland.
Yeah.
But you have to remember too, like but that's people within like those are state government jobs that are like sanitation and things like that clean up. Some of those people might not be around anymore. I mean, I understand it's 5 years later, but you know what? Maybe some of those government structures haven't really been fixed. So is it apocalyptic? No, but some of those things might not be as big of a priority as it used to be. There's not as many people.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I just feel like we would have gotten over it and gone on.
It was a bit.
And there would have been a lot, and there would have been a lot of
So
sex,
So,
and the like,
but they talk. So I understand what you're saying. So it's kind of like saying the way people talk about it, it's 5 years later. The way they present it on screen, it's like 6 months later.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it makes it look like the Earth is broken and humanity is broken, and I don't think it would be. I think they would have gotten over it. Like it would have sucked. But
well, if you look at, I mean, at one point in time, when
gotten
Scott Lang's in the cemetery and he's looking for his daughter's name, they had monuments. So
Yeah.
within 5 years,
they were able to
they
build all these
built monuments
Yeah, exactly.
in San Francisco.
I think things would have stabilized, and things would have gotten back on track. I really do.
But it's just that one scene where Scott's like walking through the neighborhood, and there are like there's like burnt out cars.
Yeah,
Stuff like
yeah.
that.
Still
And he
stuff
asks the
that's
kid
there,
like what happened, and he looks at him like, "How
Yeah.
dare you ask me that question?"
right? And the kid just takes off.
I mean, 5 years later, the kid would have been like, "Where you been, Grandpa?" And he just
Yeah.
would have kept going.
So now, like, Peter Parker's back in high school, and I'm like, wait a second.
Oh, this is the very end. Yeah.
Right. So like everybody came back now, and it's like now all of a sudden like I'm like, wait a second, isn't there another class already in high school? He's the same age. He wants to go back to school.
Right, but how many kids that survived are already still in
Yeah,
school
exactly.
going
You know what I'm saying?
forward?
I think
like
that scene-
logistically, it's a little weird.
I think that scene would have been better if it didn't take place in Peter Parker's high school.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because like,
If
yo,
he did- if he
like
would've
he's
been
walking
there,
around,
it
he's
would've
throwing
been-
money.
it was Ned,
If you would have met his friend in
If you'd have
Queens.
met Ned like
Yeah.
at a bodega or like in his
Yeah.
room with like the
Legos or something.
Legos,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like that would have been
That would've been
perfect. It would have. It was a little weird.
Yeah, like it's not like everybody showed up and they got their job back.
Right.
That's true.
Like they just said they just put everybody back on Earth.
Yeah.
Not for nothing, having everybody back on Earth after they've been gone for 5 years, that actually might be catastrophic.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
I'm sure.
You know what I mean?
I'm sure it would be. I mean, it's a happy moment and then like an
Yeah.
old crap moment at the same exact time.
Unless he helped fixed all the broken things at the same time.
That's,
I don't
but
know.
that's possible too. But that final fight, we start to see the heroes at one point, which we all think we knew would start to get kind of overpowered.
Mm.
But Thanos realizes that they're going to lose. And what does he do? He calls on his ship to just start shooting everything down.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, once everybody starts coming in from those portals, especially all of our heroes, they start coming back, they actually start to turn the tide. They start beating back Thanos' army.
Mhm.
And all like his
Big time, yeah.
his what's his like close people called? What
Those monsters from
what are those
from
things?
the
Oh,
Avengers movie.
what you mean? Like his
it's like henchmen.
his,
What are they called?
his children of Thanos.
Oh, the children of Thanos.
So they start even beating them back a little bit, and then all of a sudden, and then we get the glorified. We get the women shot. We get all the women in the one shot once Captain Marvel comes into play. So Captain Marvel arrives. She destroys the Thanos' ship. And then she flies around, and then all of a sudden she does a couple things, and then she lands in front. And then we got Captain Marvel. We've got Gamora shows
Just name
up.
it. Name a female superhero in any movie.
Pepper Potts in her own Iron Woman suit.
Scarlet Witch has got to be in there.
Scarlet
too.
Witch is
Scarlet Witch.
is
You've
in
got
there.
the general and T'Challa's younger sister.
Yes,
both from
they're
Black
both
Panther.
in there.
You got them all. You got
Which was. I mean, I actually loved the shot. I thought that was great.
Mhm.
It was a good shot.
It was a good shot. Was it forced? Just to prove a.
It was just there.
Point? It was just there.
It was there. Yeah.
But
I wouldn't even say it was forced. It was just there.
Yeah, it was just there. But it worked. It worked. But the fact that like those women like that led the charge, I thought that part was cool. and they kind of go through and they kind of like do their own badass thing.
Yeah.
that they
Well,
like break out.
I did enjoy the scene where Scarlet Witch like goes one-on-one with Thanos because
Yeah. she's powerful.
she's pissed and she's tough. And I'll be honest with you, again, she's tougher, I think, in these movies than she is
in the comic.
in the comics.
Yeah,
But she
Power
was
was
told
all
she
over the place,
but
right?
She's tough.
she is so that's when it happens. She's about to beat Thanos, and that's when Thanos says, "Let it rain."
Yeah.
And he basically won, and he starts shooting. You know, his ship starts shooting down and even hitting his own troops. He didn't care because he was going to lose. Scarlet Witch was going to kill.
Yeah,
him.
she was really going at it. And it did have one of my favorite shots in the whole movie. There is one scene where, you know, there's
Watch it.
There's a-
Watch it.
it's just a great
Control
shot of Scarlet
yourself.
Witch.
So
She's showing the goods.
So this is where Captain Marvel finally does come in and actually does what the previews and promise and what we were really looking forward to was Captain Marvel comes in and starts beating the crap out of Thanos. And
Yeah.
I at this point I really thought she was going to pull, like, there is a fight for the gauntlet at this point, and it really looks like she's going to grab the gauntlet off of him, and I thought was
pull
going
it
to pull
off
it off,
his
like
hand.
literally pull it off his hand, like she's breaking his finger back, she's bending it back. And I thought that was going to be it. And then all of a sudden, he grabs the Power Stone off the gauntlet.
And like hits her with it.
Belts her, and
Yeah.
it sends her flying. And that's
they-
when Tony comes in.
They do get the gauntlet off of him, though.
No.
No,
It doesn't. It stays on him. Tony then bum rushes him.
And does
somehow manages to grab all the
He
stones.
like Tony Stark's.
Yeah,
stones,
yeah.
man.
Starks his way
I
through
didn't
it.
get how he did that.
And then he
Just
pulls up
Tony Starks it.
because you don't see it. Because so he's like he's hugging or wrestling the gauntlet, and then Thanos throws him off, and then Thanos you see him go like this,
And nothing happens.
And it's
nothing
nothing,
happens,
right.
and then he looks at the gauntlet and all the stones are missing, and then Tony's there with his Iron Man suit, and they all go in the suit, and then he does his snap.
But there's a scene. There's a pretty extended scene where the gauntlet is off, and they're like,
They're trying to get it.
It's going from person to person.
Yeah,
They're
that's
trying
That's
to
what it
keep
goes
it.
to. Yeah, so it starts.
That's,
It starts
is,
with
that,
Hawkeye.
is that before that or after that?
It's before that.
Yeah,
It starts.
before that.
Right
It starts with.
Yeah,
It starts with Hawkeye.
Yeah.
And then it goes to Spider-Man. That's when everyone started going nuts.
And
Because
then it goes to
Spider-Man's
Black-
back.
It goes to Black Panther too. I think. It's
Yeah, Black Panther
Give
takes
it to me.
The whole,
And then-
the whole
and then,
Salucci thing with the gauntlet to me, I thought was a little corny.
Well, then you get.
But like, you're giving it to like the most like really human characters, and it's like,
Then you get.
give it to
Captain Marvel.
Thor. Give it to somebody who
Well,
can hold on to
But
it.
that's when it went to Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel got it at one
Right.
point, and she's the driving force that's about to throw it into the time machine because they were going to throw it and like have all the stones like separate and disperse, and that's when Thanos destroys the time machine, and then everything goes to
Right.
hell,
No.
and then he gets the gauntlet, and at that point in time, but I
So-
thought that was pretty satisfying.
A couple other cameos in the film. Stan Lee had his cameo.
He had a de-aged
DH.
cameo.
Yeah, DH cameo.
1970s.
70s.
70s, and he had a nice little "Nuff Said" bumper
Nuff said on the
sticker.
bumper
On
sticker.
the bumper sticker.
It was good.
I didn't see an Excelsior. That would have been nice too.
That would have been
Yeah.
nice too. That would have been nice if there was like a car called an Excelsior.
Actually,
and
wait.
he was driving an
He had
Excelsior.
2 cameos. He was also the bus driver.
Well, the bus driver was in the first. Was Infinity
Bus
War.
driver was
Oh no, wait.
Spider-Man.
You're right, because I watched it. I watched.
Oh, yeah,
it the night
Infinity War,
before.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
right.
Infinity War,
I
yeah.
got confused.
That's
I watched
okay.
it the night before.
And for those in the know, when they were in that therapy session, who was in the therapy session?
I think
Hawkeye?
one of the Russo
no,
brothers.
it was
Cap.
It was just Cap.
Just
Just
Cap.
Cap.
Cap was in the therapy session, and one of the therapists in charge of the session was Jim Starlin, who is the creator of Thanos, and was heavily involved with the storylines with Adam Warlock and Captain Marvel and against Thanos.
Yeah.
And actually wrote.
Is that the original? That's the original Infinity War, right? Or is that the?
That's Thanos from the
Gauntlet?
70s.
That's before.
Okay,
I think
that's
it's
before.
But I actually think Jim Starlin was probably involved in Infinity Gauntlet,
Most
even in the
likely.
90s.
Mhm.
You know, when they
Yeah.
brought all these, because a lot of these characters died in the late 70s. Thanos, Adam Warlock, Gamora, all these characters that Jim Starlin created died.
Right.
And then when they, because nobody stays dead, when they resurrected everybody in the 90s, I think Jim Starlin was involved in a lot of that as well. And they really, and Thanos became, I think, bigger in the 90s than he ever was in the 70s.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So,
That
and they actually
sounds
had a nice
familiar.
little, in the credits, they had a nice dedication just for Jim Starlin, saying like, his contribution to this film, was pivotal, because he was huge for us. And then we had the 40, like good 40 names of, special thanks to
all these creators.
all the various artists and
Yeah.
writers that
Yep.
probably contribute to a gazillion storylines over the years. So again, I can't wait to look at that in a freeze frame and just read them all, because you can only read so many.
Yeah,
so
that's
fast.
true.
But one of the last probably big spoilers that we'll give away is that when Tony does his snap, that's it for Tony. It's
Yeah.
over,
Yeah.
the gauntlet's
You can't-
it's too much for him,
Yep.
and he ends up passing away with Pepper kind of
Telling him it's
holding
okay.
him and telling him it's okay. That they say, and of course, well, another moment is before Pepper gets to him, Peter Parker gets to him, and he starts getting upset, telling him, "Don't go." That you saved everybody, that we won, and then he starts getting real emotional, realizing that Tony's going to die, and then Pepper comes in.
Okay, so Captain
Good
America
scene.
in his old age.
Well, before we get, before we
Right,
get there,
before that. Yeah, before
yeah,
that.
you're jumping right to the end. So at that point in time, the next thing is Tony's funeral, and at Tony's
Yeah.
funeral,
So
Everybody-
cameos. You want to
they
Everybody.
do an amazing
It's like a wide shot.
shot.
Like a tracking
It's
shot.
a
tracking
long
shot.
tracking
long
shot.
tracking shot. Yeah.
Of each group of heroes. So you have you have Scott Lang and the Pims, and we're talking Michelle Pfeiffer, Michael Douglas, and Evangeline Lilly. They're all in one shot. All of the Guardians of the Galaxy, they're in a shot.
The Wakandans.
The Wakandans, you had the main Wakandans were a part of that.
The main
shot.
three, right?
The
The
three.
main three.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who
Yeah,
else?
the weird one was the kid. I think it was the kid.
The kid from Iron Man 3 was one of the last.
which I didn't
in a row.
recognize.
And he's all grown up, same actor, all grown up.
Oh, that's who that was.
Yeah,
He's all grown
okay.
up. And then behind that, you had General Ross from Incredible Hulk.
And Chris and I thought that was
yeah,
Betty Ross.
We thought that was Betty, but it wasn't. It was Colby Smulders
Right.
for Agent.
What was it?
What was her name?
She was Hill.
Maria Hill.
Maria Hill, yeah.
Yeah, so she was in that, and then of course, finally we see. Well, we got Captain Marvel standing on the steps, and then finally Samuel L. Jackson makes his appearance.
Sitting on the porch.
Well, he comes walking on the porch.
Well,
Would it,
walking on
would
the
it have
park,
been
I
corny to have Stan Lee somewhere in there in the background?
Yes.
Sitting on like a porch swing somewhere?
Yes,
probably.
That would have
I
been
think it
corny.
would have, yeah.
Would have been corny.
I think
right?
so.
I
Inappropriate.
think it was good.
It
No,
wouldn't have made sense.
It wouldn't have made
It
sense.
wasn't
It wouldn't have
made
been
sense.
appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I liked where he was.
Well, let's put it this way. If that was his only cameo, would that have been appropriate?
Depending on how they did it.
Yeah, like if he was like a priest or the funeral
Yes.
director,
Yeah,
that would
okay,
have
yeah,
been
yeah.
perfect.
I think I agreed.
The
Yeah,
scene
that
that
was-
got me almost like more so than the Spider-Man
Yeah.
hug was when you had Tony Stark's daughter, who's adorable,
Cute.
very
Absolutely,
cute.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can
Obviously,
tell
5
she's
years
gonna-
old.
5 years old.
Yeah.
She's going to be father spitting at her. She's very, very witty. She's sitting with Happy, who's John Favreau, and they're having a conversation. He's like, "You hungry? Hey, how you doing? Is everything okay?" He's like, "I'm hungry. What do you want?" "Cheeseburgers." You know, yeah. Your dad liked cheeseburgers. And when he said your dad liked cheeseburgers, I almost got me. It was just like the flow of the scene, and like it was like a real funeral, like a really.
There were a couple of
It was really well
good
done.
emotional shots.
Yeah,
in
it was
this.
very. They really
Like
knew
that.
how to
I agree.
portray an
And when
emotional
Kevin and I
scene.
having like young kids, scenes like that
Yeah.
hit, and I'll tell you, I almost teared up when Tony hugged Spider-Man. When he
Yeah,
hugged
no,
Peter Parker.
I'm with you on that.
Because there's
Absolutely.
multiple scenes earlier in the film where like Tony's looking at a picture of Spider-Man, and then when Tony first comes back from space, he grabs Pepper and he basically tells her how he's like,
He says
I
it.
couldn't save the kid.
He says I couldn't.
I
Or
couldn't
I
save the
lost
kid.
the
I
kid.
lost
Or I
the
couldn't
kid.
save the kid. And at
And
this
like,
point,
you knew
yeah, he's
really holding on to that,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
really upset by that.
he's really shook at this point.
So
Really shook.
that was great.
Yeah, really good.
And then the final end scene is basically Captain
Okay.
America.
I'm trying to
Returning all the
understand.
stones.
I'm trying to understand how Captain America got to that bench.
He was always at that bench.
Okay,
Well,
so
that's the new timeline.
So he went back in time
He went back in time
to
and
put everything in
put
place.
he did
He
his
did it.
job.
He did,
Did his
and
job. And then he
And
stayed.
when it came
and then-
time to
but-
go, when it came time to
but-
hit whatever he had to hit to go back in time,
he
he
did
was
it.
like,
He
no,
did it.
no, I'm going to do this.
and then
This
he
is
lived his life, and then
Yep.
He got
knew
married
where
to,
they were going to be,
He got married to Peggy.
He got married
and
to Peggy.
walked there,
Another pretty
and
big story.
sat on that bench and waited for
Knowing.
them to find them.
Yeah, he was there the whole time.
I think he was there.
He was there the whole time.
Just
He-
knowing.
oh, okay, he was there the whole time.
He had to have been.
knowing-
Okay.
I think
He was there the
just
whole time.
knowing that.
And then
That's
Sam
what
was
it
like,
be.
what?
Who's that guy?
Who's that
that
guy?
guy?
Is, or rather, I know who that is.
Yeah.
Check
okay.
this out.
Okay.
So great scene at the end.
Yeah, really good.
We get Sam that goes over, talks with old Cap.
Sam and Bucky. Bucky's there too.
Bucky's there too, but Sam's the one that goes over.
Right,
and
right,
talks to
right.
him.
Yeah.
So Sam.
Sam scene. Yeah.
So we're all wondering, who's going to be the next Captain America, and it's definitely going to be Sam. It's not going to be Winter Soldier.
Okay, so not one Mary Poppins in the credits. Just credits. Credits start, credits go.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
extra scenes.
No, but there is
Is
one
that a negative or a
thing.
positive?
Well, I
That's
think
a,
it's
that
just.
is a big. I think it's a big positive.
I think
Okay,
it's just
yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
end of it's the end
Yeah.
of this era. You
It's
know?
the end of this era.
Yeah.
But I would like. I was hoping that they would give us a glimmer
No, you don't
of
need
the
it. Man.
next phase.
This is the end of the chapter.
I think it's I
And
agree.
that whole the whole post credit scene which started what I'm gonna say
with Iron Man 1 on
12
2008.
almost 12 years ago, 11 12 years ago. That was this arc's gimmick. You know,
Yeah.
they started.
Yeah.
But they always had a point. It was always to
Well, I mean,
question or
keep in
lead.
mind, this is not the end of the Marvel Cinematic
I know, but
Universe.
it's the end of this story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
It's the
there's
end of
another
this
story on the horizon.
Yeah, pick it up
and,
again,
and
though.
it's going to
Pick it up.
have these characters.
Yeah, but it's not this story.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? Like you could literally close the book right here.
We'll have to wait and see what Spider-Man.
Yeah. I would have.
When does
I
the
don't
new
know.
Spider-Man take place?
July
After
It's
this?
after this. It's within a few months.
Well, that's
after this.
ballsy,
Yeah.
right? That's really ballsy.
But I mean, you knew that he was coming back. You knew.
Yeah, but it's
you
not.
knew Fury
I mean,
was coming back.
Yeah, but come on. But did you know that? I didn't know Scarlet. I didn't know Black Widow was gonna die.
No,
would've-
but
who
that's,
would've said,
but
you know?
that's dying, not coming back. I mean, you figured all the people that died from the
I
snap
really-
were going to come back.
Oh,
all right, fine.
all the
All right.
snapped. All anybody got snapped.
I mean, to me, it's all the people that were snapped.
because all those people are still going to be making movies.
I mean, overall, guys, I really enjoyed the film.
Yeah,
I
me
thought it
too.
was a really great way to cap off
It was.
the last 11 years. And the way that they were able to get, and I don't want to say shoehorn because that's really the wrong term, but the way that they got everybody that had an impact over the last 11 years, and we're not talking just the main stars, we're talking about co-stars in these films that might not have been seen since a phase 1 film,
Yeah.
came back. Natalie Portman
Yeah.
had a small scene.
Mhm.
Nicole Russo.
Renee
Renee
Russo.
I'm sorry, Renee Russo.
And
not
the
Nicole
guy
Russo,
who
Renee
played
Russo.
and the guy who played Crossbones, right? Crossbones.
Yeah.
This
He
is
came
real tiny
back.
scenes.
And you know, I mean, even who played the senator from Winter Soldier?
Robert Redford.
Robert Redford makes an appearance in this film. I mean,
All
the
good. All
way
point.
that they did it,
All point.
and these were all new scenes.
Yeah. And then you
Very,
had,
very well done.
They had all those Shield agents who were really Hydra
Oh,
agents.
Yes.
That was
And
best.
yeah,
that was
great.
great.
that was
scene.
that. Yeah, when
Cap
Captain
goes-
America says "Hail Hydra,"
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was actually
So Cap's
that was
got
actually kinda cool.
it's Cap's job. There's 3 stones in New York. One of them is in Loki's staff. So at some point it's some suit and crossbones and a bunch of soldiers.
It's very reminiscent of the elevator scene
Yes.
in Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
where
I thought
he
that's
fights
this was
everybody.
going to happen.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Cap's in the elevator. He's like, listen. He's like, I got a call from corporate. Yeah, leave it with me. They're not buying it, and he drops the Hail Hydra line.
It's okay, guys.
Yeah,
It's okay, guys.
Yeah.
He leans in just
Yeah.
like Gary Shandling did
Yeah.
in
Hail
Hail
Hydra.
Hydra.
less creepily, Hail Hydra, and then just
Cool.
and it
Yeah.
flies, and
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
It really is. It's really really cool.
So, and actually, a funny story which we forgot to mention in the beginning, and I said we got to save it at the end, is when we went to see Avengers last night. They started playing the wrong movie.
Oh yeah.
So we're sitting there
Oh,
in a
man.
packed theater, and they finally get through the previews.
Previews are done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the screen goes blank, and then all of a sudden,
DC.
well, first
Warner Brothers.
Warner
comes
Brothers
out.
launched,
Yeah.
and I'm just sitting there going like,
Wait.
Oh, right
that's
away.
not right.
As soon as I saw that, I'm like,
And
this
then,
is film.
and then
What the
DC
hell?
Comics or DC,
Yes, it's DC.
DC,
And as
it's
soon as I
just
saw
like,
that, I'm like, that's Shazam.
you know, and a decent number of people in the theater were like, "There's something wrong here,"
Yeah.
and I'm sitting there going like, because I only saw Shazam once, so I didn't quite,
I knew
but
it.
like somebody said this is
Right
Shazam.
I think it might have been Chris.
Yeah,
I was like,
and I'm
Shazam,
just like,
this is Shazam.
I'm like, this is great. And there were a couple people in the theater that really didn't know that this wasn't the Avengers movie,
Yeah.
and they like, you know, were almost getting mad at people for talking, and then I'm like, and then I at one point I yelled out Shazam, and then I'm like, and then the people in front of us, they were crazy. They were just like,
Those guys.
what's going on? So then the funny thing was is nobody was getting up.
No, someone, as soon as it happened, I saw a guy get
Yeah, it
up.
was like
One guy got up.
yeah, one
Okay,
guy.
but for the
So
most
that-
part, almost everybody was in their seats. And the movie is starting. It's the opening scene of
No,
Shazam.
like it's at least like 2 or 3
And
minutes in.
I was there, and I just had to yell something else. So I yelled out. I said, if we all yell Shazam together, the movie will change into the Avengers movie.
I got a few laughs.
And I thought that was
good.
funny because you just gotta laugh because we actually had that happen to us when we went to see what. That happened.
No, Wonder Woman.
We went to see Wonder
And
Woman.
Captain Underpants.
And Captain Underpants came.
Yeah, no, that was pretty
It's an
funny.
understandable mistake.
That's an understandable.
I mean, at least it's not. You know, at least it wasn't a romantic comedy. Like they're giving us the wrong superhero movie.
comic movie for another.
But what made
Pretty
it even
funny.
weirder was that the beginning of this movie, there's zero fanfare. It starts.
Oh, literally starts with
It
Hawkeye.
starts.
Oh.
It literally starts with Hawkeye showing his daughter how to shoot a recurve.
Yeah.
And John, you were like, I think they just screwed us on the first 5 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it
'cause
really felt
there are a
that way.
lot of scenarios where, like if there's a screw up in a movie, like if it goes down or it turns off, like sometimes you do not have the ability to just restart it. It will be
Just
in,
keep
it will
going.
be in progress.
Yeah.
So if it was like in progress behind the scenes, all of a sudden it opens up on Hawkeye in the field. You know, there's no opening credits or anything, or you know, it's just, or even like, you know, so and so presents. It just puts you in a scene,
Yeah.
and it looks like it literally was like.
No, it did. It looked
I'm
like we missed something.
I'm like, I think we missed the first couple
But
minutes. of the film.
but after the first couple of minutes, I'm like, I don't think we did. I think we
Yeah.
actually caught it from where we were supposed to start.
And it was funny too. What they did was they finally stopped Shazam, and then we got to see the
Another
Spider-Man.
trailer,
We got to
another
see the
trailer.
Spider-Man preview
Twice,
again.
yeah.
And I said, all right. I said, I've seen this one already. I'm going to go to the men's room again. and I was actually very proud. I don't think I did not go to the
No,
bathroom
you
once
didn't.
in that
No.
3-hour film.
didn't.
Guys, very hard to. I mean, for a 3-hour film,
Hard to pick a
it's
spot.
hard
And-
pressed to pick a spot to get up and go for
Yeah,
this.
and you hit it right on the head in the beginning of this when you said about the pacing of the
Yeah,
film,
it was
because
really
the movie was long, but it was deliberately paced, and and obviously the last half an hour was action packed,
Right, yeah.
but like it just carried itself very slow and deliberate, I think, not too slow,
No.
because I was engaged and
Yeah.
I was actually not aware of the passage of time, and I think if you can compare that to like the Aquaman film, which I really think was just too jam packed and too fast and everything, it was just a roller coaster ride. It was just it overwhelmed the senses. Whereas
There's a lot
I found
going
this,
on. A lot
I found this with all the characters that it had and all the
Yeah, there was a
all
lot
the
to
threads
get
that it had to pull together and just keep your attention. I think in terms of that, I think it did a very good job.
Yeah.
So a good mixtape.
So, I mean, for
Up,
me,
down,
overall,
up,
I think I enjoyed the film. I did have some problems with it. But I'm looking forward to seeing it again, because I can tell you
I
right
agree
now,
too.
I
Yeah.
enjoyed Infinity War so much more the second time
So did
around.
I. So did I.
Like the second time around, I was just like sat back and because I knew what was going to happen, where everything was
Well,
going.
I think
and I
I
just
think so
sat back
too.
and enjoyed every
I
nuance.
think now that we can just like sit back and actually just take
Yeah.
take it in for all that it is, and not worry
Yeah.
about picking up every little piece, because because it's the first time that we saw it. So now that it's the second time, I think we can enjoy that more too.
Yeah.
I am looking
Yeah.
for. A
I
second
definitely
viewing
plan
of
on
this.
seeing it at least one more time,
Yeah.
if not two.
I want to see it at least once more.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
So
Yes.
And what was the box office?
I hit over 300 as of right now. I think over 340 million. It's predicted for domestic.
Domestic.
That's
a lot.
gonna
It's
that's
gonna. It's
you know,
close to a billion.
that will absolutely
Yeah.
double.
Oh, it
for
should.
foreign.
You know,
It's
and
100%.
what
It's
makes that
almost
impressive
$1 billion
because
for
like
the opening
a
weekend.
3-hour movie can
Watched
is-
how many
Yeah,
times?
right.
You know, like you literally are gonna if you're showing that movie all day, compared to a normal movie, that's
Right.
at least one less movie, if
Yeah.
not
This
two.
is why
because of the-
theaters are opening earlier and staying open later, or even knocking out other films.
Well, yeah, even
to
in our
open-
case,
in our
how many
case,
screens was
All
Avengers
4.
playing in?
Four.
It was playing in all 4.
4 screens.
Wow.
I'm
It's
a
the
big
small
proponent
theater.
of longer movies. I like if you
I
got
don't mind.
if you got a story to
If you pay a
tell.
lot of money, I want to sit and
Yeah,
watch.
if
the
you got
movie.
it, especially now that theater prices have gone up over the past however many years. If
Right.
you have a story to tell that you want to tell in 3.5 hours, do it.
But they needed to tell us. They couldn't
Yeah.
have done this in a 2-hour film. There was too much to put in for a final film in this franchise.
I'll be honest with you though.
For now.
I'm looking forward to a director's cut with 45 minutes of
Yeah,
of,
Peter
you know,
Jackson, the thing, man. Give me
Yeah,
an
do it up.
extended cut.
I love my Return of the
I-
King.
I
3
agree.
hours, 48 minutes, or whatever.
4
I
hours.
don't see this film being nominated for Best Picture like Black Panther.
No, I don't think it
I don't
will.
think it's that type of film.
I don't think so.
I don't think it is either, but it was.
And that's okay.
But no, it was
It might
fine.
get some
I don't.
technical-
I don't expect that from.
I think
superhero
I think
movies.
technical awards it might be
Yeah,
at least
maybe.
nominated for some, but I don't know if it'll win.
Because I still think the de aging looked really. It will I think it technically it was really
I thought so.
outstanding.
Are they planning on doing like another Captain Marvel solo movie?
Yes,
Okay, good.
Really?
Yeah.
I should probably see the first one.
you
Then.
should.
Yeah, you.
I
You should.
I did see Shazam.
You,
I really like Shazam.
you should see the first Captain Marvel movie and then watch our review of it.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta just rip it down.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
yeah,
Well,
we
I
ripped
don't know if
it.
we ripped it. I thought
I
we were
think
pretty
ripped
honest.
it. I think we
Well,
ripped
yeah,
it
all right.
I think we had some
Honest.
optimism, but also we were.
Johnny and Chris honest review?
honestly and deservedly ripped it. Because I can tell you right now, we were actually we praised Shazam pretty much. Like
Yeah, there's a lot of
I didn't
great
have much
things
to
about
say
Shazam.
against
Like
Shazam, but I had a lot to say about Captain Marvel.
But guys, I think overall, I was pretty positive about this film. Really
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Only a couple of really small things that I would nitpick on,
Some
but
nitpicks,
overall, I think it was really enjoyable. If you haven't seen it yet, what are you doing watching this? Go see
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah, what are you crazy?
Run, don't walk. It's good.
I want to thank Kevin for coming in. This was
Yep.
a nice first special guest that we've had
You
on.
are very welcome.
Very happy.
Very
Hopefully, we can do this again for another film in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
Johnny,
yeah,
anything?
nothing. I'm
Right.
just looking forward to the next set of films. When is the
Alright.
next film coming out? Marvel Cinematic Universe. Is it Spider-Man?
I think it's
Spider-Man in
Spider-Man.
July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But after that, I don't need.
Well, then we got Dark.
Strange.
Well, then we
There's so many.
Well, then we get
well, then we
X-Men.
got the last
The last
At
Fox
the last
X-Men
Fox
film.
X-Men. I'm looking forward to that. We will definitely be doing a review of Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, we'll see that too.
Got a lot to say about
Will you?
We'll
I might
see.
have to.
Yeah.
It might be a no for me, dog. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll let you know how that
Yeah.
works.
that. Big fan of Dark Phoenix.
Oh, so am I. But that X3 just.
It's like a repeat of X3.
Whoa,
Yeah.
it's a bad taste in my mouth.
All right, guys, I think with that, I think we're going to wrap this one up.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you guys all for watching. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, comment to this video. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah.
Take care, guys, all right?
Our
Enjoy.
running time is half of the movie.
All right. Take care, guys.
Take care.
Good night.